Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. This video is going to be a look ahead to the Sixers and Lakers game, and then tomorrow the Jets and Flyers game. And then overall, who I think between the Lions, Dallas, and Falcons, who are the bubble teams in the NFL right now to get into the playoffs, who I think could actually push it over the top and get in based on their schedule. Anyway, starting with the Sixers, I think the Sixers will go 2 for 2 in beating both LA teams in the Staples Center because Ben Simmons guarding Lonzo should be able to help shut down Lonzo, who has been inconsistent this year in the first place. I think he'll still get his passes. He's like sixth, I believe, in the NBA in assists, so I think he'll still spread the ball around good. His shooting has been struggling all year. His shooting percentage is, I believe, only in the 30%, which isn't good. He had that one game the other day where he was the youngest guy to get a triple-double, but then he had a bad game the next day, so he's just inconsistent. He's a guy, I still believe in him. I think he'll get good. He just needs to build his body into an NBA body, where kind of like how Brandon Ingram, another guy on the Lakers, had to. He did terrible last year. Now this year, a lot of Lakers fans, from reading social media feed and stuff, actually really like Brandon Ingram because he was able to get into the build he needed for his second season. And will Lonzo take as long as they have to get through this year and then come to next year to become the guy we want him to become? The NBA wants him to become. Maybe. If he's smart, he would be working with guys like Randall, Brandon Ingram, and people like that, especially Brandon Ingram, who was in his same boat last year, wasn't really in the right build to be able to pound it and play very well in the league and be aggressive because he would have got wrecked because of his size and his lack of strength, really. But this year, he's doing far better, and Lonzo would be very beneficial if he went to him. And I don't know, obviously, if they are or not, but if they were workout partners and he helped him to get stronger that way. Now, if we're going based off of injuries, again, I think the Sixers will win because Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid average more points than the Lakers guy that averages the most points, which is Jordan Clarkson at 15.5. Embiid averages 20.9. And Big Ben Simmons averages 17.8. So I think we're going to take this game, and Simmons is going to have a good game against Lonzo, continuing his success. And Joel's going to have a good game again, hopefully a little bit better at the free throw line. That was the only thing he struggled at last game. And I think we'll take this game in terms of injuries. Stauskas is out, who really doesn't play much anyway. Bayless is still out. Fultz is obviously out. And Jaleel, who also doesn't really play, is out with an illness. And then for the Lakers, it's only Larry Nance Jr. All right, moving on to the Flyers. The Flyers lost 2 straight games to Minnesota that statistically they actually kind of outplayed Minnesota, and Brian Elliott has had 3 pretty good straight games now and 2 really good straight games. And it's a shame when earlier in the season we were all saying, oh, well, our goaltending's not living up to our offense, and that's why we're losing some games. And now our goaltending is surpassed our offense, and we're losing games because no one can score. Scored, I think it was in 7.5 periods or something like that, which is the most since 2015, which I'm not jumping the gun here, but that year we didn't make the playoffs. And I think most people coming into this year expect the Flyers to make the playoffs. Now, they do have some options. Simmer looks injured. It looks like he's not playing to his full capabilities, and it looks like he's playing a little bit injured. And maybe we can go get Donick Martell to come up because he's doing really good in the minors. Or Lindblom, I guess if you want to call him up too, but Martell's doing really good in the minors, and that's just something I've been reading into about how well he's doing, and maybe if we call him up, he can replace Simmer for a little bit, so that he can take a couple days off, not necessarily go on the injury list, but just take a few days off to get back into his shape. Now, tomorrow against the Jets, that's going to be a really tough game because Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Patrick Line are three of their guys that are having great seasons. Of course, we have G. Voracek and Coots that are also having great seasons. So I think tomorrow, at least, you have to keep the top line together because our top line is in the top three in production in the league still, even after having these 2 straight games. We didn't do much. So I think it would be kind of dumb to take them out now, especially against a team where they probably will match up well because Cooch will be able to play defense against Winnipeg's top line. G will be able to focus on facilitating again, and also he's not too bad at defense. And then Jake is mainly the facilitator on that line. So I think it would be a good idea to keep them together to battle against Winnipeg's first line, which is also one of the better ones in the league. That's going to be a hard game for the Flyers to win, but I think if Steve Mason is in net for Winnipeg or a former guy, we should be able to get over the hump because he is having a really bad season. And so he's struggling, so I think we'll win tomorrow if he's in. If Connor, I always mispronounce this guy's name, Halbuck is in, it'll be a little bit tougher, but we got to just get back to being gritty and get guys in front of the net, get some tips in, get some rebound goals. That's part of Flyers hockey, and that we've been missing that the past few games. I know Simmons might be injured a little bit, but if he wants to play and be out there, he has to get back in front of the net and be aggressive again. Otherwise, he's kind of just hurting the team at this point, in my opinion, by staying out there. Anyway, moving on real quick to the NFL recaps, and then soon I'll have a video on my power rankings. But in terms of who I think will make the playoffs between the Lions, Dallas, and Falcons, the bubble teams, of course Dallas still has a chance because their schedule is the Eagles, which is a hard game, the Chargers, which they should win, the Redskins, which will be a tough game because it's a division game, but they should win, the Giants they should obviously beat, at the Raiders, that could be tough because it's at Oakland, which is still a tough stadium to play in. Seahawks, which would be a good matchup, and Zeke would be back for that game. And then back at the Eagles for the last game of the season. So they don't have too tough of a schedule. They have a few tough games in there. So they could possibly get to the wild card. But my team I pick out of any of those 3 teams, if they're able to get over the hump, will be the Lions, because I have always said Matthew Stafford has always stepped up and became a superior player at this stages of the season, and their schedule is the Bears, who they should be able to beat. The Vikings will be a tough game. That should be a battle of 2 solid defenses and keep going there. The Ravens, they should be able to beat. The Bucks, they should be able to beat. The Bears, again, they should be able to beat. I think they sweep the Bears. Bengals are not having too good of a year, so they should be able to win that game. And the Packers are having a decent year, but the pressure that the Lions can still provide and Matthew Stafford, I think, especially because that's one of the last games, if they're still in the hunt, he'll go off because he's a clutch time performer. So my pick is the Lions to make the playoffs out of those three. But just to go over the Falcons play the Hawks, Bucks, Vikings, Saints, Bucks again, Saints, and Panthers. So they have a really tough schedule to try to get there. So I have faith in Matt Ryan. I've always liked him, but I think they're going to struggle, and my pick is the Lions to get there. Have a nice day, everyone. I'll have a new video on the NFL Power Rankings in a little bit. Have a good one. Peace.